It is a ripoff. We're ripping ourselves off because of fanatical and stupid environmental extremists in the Liberal government.
Justin did it again. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today's top story here. Justin Trudeau has given a speech for victims of the plane crash 5 years ago, and he turned it into an opportunity to talk about himself. We've got a whole bunch of other stories, including the former chief of staff for Stephen Harper praising Pierre Poilievre for being ahead of the curve, understanding what's going on in Canada and calling out way ahead of time. More crime, more chaos, a whole bunch of stuff. Let's jump into this. The craziness doesn't end, so we've got this one posted by Kirk here. It says, "Great news, Canada. The T-word run Islamic Republic of Iran has our back against the US. You see, being a T-word friendly country and send their money to their proxies has its benefits. Iran military tweeted, just as we always stood ready to support other nations, Iran is prepared to assist Canada, Mexico, Panama, Greenland against US aggression and T-word activities." We can't even make this stuff up anymore. This is insane. Not only that, you got this guy posting Iran shot down passenger plane. So we've got that here. Justin Trudeau made a speech today based on this events here. The Association of the Families of Flight PS 572. This was the plane that was shot down 5 years ago. And he was absolutely swarmed going into this building. So he's right there.
Mr. Trudeau, why do you think anyone wants to be in your presence today, Mr. Trudeau?
You're walking in. Who are you? Who are you? Where is Dushman?
So inside, he made a speech and he had to make it about himself. But first, check out what he says here.
Because justice is necessary to bring at least some semblance of closure. When you know that the perpetrators of this horrific act still walk free, are still free to oppress and murder their own citizens.
Are you talking about all the gangsters and goons that you unleashed in our streets, Trudeau? I'm sorry, I'm confused. What are you talking about here? The hypocrisy of this speech is unbelievable. Does he not realize we're seeing this every day in Canada? I saw a post on X where it showed just one area, I think it was Cloverdale. It was a police report of everything that happened in that day, and it was like a full page long. All the robberies, everything that gets reported in just that area. Our country's been flooded with the exact thing he's just describing here as being so terrible. It's all his fault though. This man is a walking disaster. Not only that, within this speech, he starts talking about him and his brother and the whole situation, but then he has to bring up his resignation. Leave it to Trudeau, fart-faced Justin Trudeau, to take advantage of a tragedy to talk about himself.
As you all know, this will be my last time attending this event as your Prime Minister. But I have to tell you,
Now, reading his body language there, those extra... The words coming out of his mouth, hearing that he wasn't going to be Prime Minister, probably caused him more distress than talking to any of the people that were involved in this tragedy. You can see it all over his face and his body language. He's a defeated man. He needs to call an election right now.
It has been the deepest of honors to be able to be with you, to stand with you, to cry with you, and to accompany you in this fight against a terrible regime.
This guy's borderline on tears, and it's not because of this flight and this tragedy. It's because he just acknowledged that he's going to be stepping down and not Prime Minister. Like, this is horrible. I don't buy these tears for 1 second that they have anything to do with the people on the wall back here. They're all for himself. Next up, we got this one posted by Canada Proud. We've got Jean Chrétien has dug himself out of the crypt for one more statement. Apparently, former Liberal Chrétien here says, young people need to get married and start dressing better. Thanks for that, Chrétien. I think we're all good. What a moderate to conservative thing to say. Great example of how far the Liberals have drifted left, because that will solve a lot. How about we make living affordable again and see what happens? He's getting blasted in these comments. We got this one posted by Rachel Parker. It says, what I recognized was the Liberal Party was more of a cult. There's a former Liberal MP here. I mean, they're just coming out of every corner of the earth here. Where have they been the last 9 years?
What I recognized that this Liberal Party was more of a cult. It was the narrative was you could think only a certain way, you could only challenge a certain way. And while the Prime Minister kept saying, well, my members of Parliament are free to do what they want, say that's baloney. He handpicked them so that they wouldn't have different positions or different ideas than what he had put forward. And of course, the discipline has been extraordinarily stringent. Discipline that no longer makes the role of the Member of Parliament one of being able to represent your constituents.
That sounds exactly what Trudeau did. We've got this one going around. There's people getting Canadian citizenship without even stepping foot in Canada, as Britannia has posted here, apparently a refugee. Okay, we're going to turn off that audio, but yeah, look at them flying over in first class. They got their Canadian citizenship with doing nothing. Yeah, time to send them back. Do refugees always travel business class? Yeah, no kidding. They have those like reclining chairs. Check out this old clip of Trudeau. This is unbelievable cringe of him singing. He's so bad. He's bad at everything. The Great Pretender. Another one bites the dust. We got this one from Rachel Parker. It says Poilievre was the first person in the country to be on that issue. You can see here, this is the former chief of staff for Stephen Harper.
Inflation destroys everything in its path. It's economically damaging as well as politically damaging. Poilievre was the first person in the country to be on that issue at a time when lots of other people poo-pooed the concern about inflation. It turns out he was right, and I think he's reaping the benefit now of having been very early to be right. I think on the issue of, you look at his year-end interview with Jordan Peterson, I think probably most of your viewers have seen it by now.
Sure.
I think the line that jumps out from that is we're now going to wait around for 2 months while the governing party gets its act together for the next election, while the country goes through what could be a economically devastating trade war with the United States. I think he's right about that in advance as well, and we'll reap the benefit of that over the course of the next couple of months. So I'm not too worried about, I think Poilievre has positioned himself very well on all of the issues that are still going to hang out here. And the fact that Mr. Trudeau has left his successor with very little time to renew that party, that's the big challenge for the other side.
Okay.
Of course Trudeau did that, though. It's all about him. He didn't care about anyone else the whole time, his cabinet, his caucus. He only cares about himself. Next up, we got a really sad story here. This is what really happens in Canada.
Well, it is a tragic reminder of the dangers of this cold weather, particularly for those experiencing homelessness. A city councillor says a man was found frozen to death downtown yesterday morning after sleeping on the street. Police say they received a call for a person in medical distress near Elgin and Cooper Streets around 4:30 a.m. on Monday. CTV's Peter Sperling joins us now with the details on this. Peter.
Patricia, well, a cause of death hasn't been confirmed. Overnight temperatures on Monday hit a low of -17. Paramedics say when they arrived on scene, they found a man in his 40s in cardiac arrest. He was transported to hospital where he later died.
This is the scene along Elgin Street in the early hours of Monday morning. Ottawa police responding to a call for a person in medical distress. Somerset Ward Councillor Ariel Troster posting about the man's death on social media. Troster, who declined an interview, says the man froze to death and calls it a failure on all of us.
That's horrifying. I mean, I know a lot of the people on this street and they're really kind people.
Ripley Love lives in the area, knows many who spend time along Elgin.
Even when I don't have something to give, they're always so kind to me and always say hi. That's really horrifying.
It breaks.
This is Trudeau's Canada. He's pushed people out in the streets, and then he's giving money to people flooding in from all these countries, abusing our refugee system.
My heart. It's such a tragedy.
Paramedics responded to the call at 4:30 in the morning and found an adult male in cardiac arrest. Paramedics say he was taken to hospital in critical, life-threatening condition.
Ottawa police say the death is not being considered as suspicious.
Weekly, it's about 300 individuals who are actively sleeping outside.
The Salvation Army's outreach team checks on vulnerable individuals, providing services like transportation to a shelter, warming facility, and carries supplies like sleeping bags, jackets, boots, hand warmers.
This is Trudeau's legacy.
Anything that we can provide to make it as safe as possible if someone decides to sleep outdoors.
A point-in-time count last fall shows how many people in Ottawa are experiencing homelessness.
The last count showed over 3,000 people. We don't know that number is completely accurate. We tend to believe that it's higher than that, and that's why we continue to call on every level of government to help us build sustainable housing, because there's only one way that we get out of this problem, and that's by putting more people into homes.
This is really sad. Nobody should die like this. The real Canada is showing again. Rest in peace. We are one of the richest countries. This should never happen. Yeah, experiencing homelessness. He's homeless. Just say it straight up. This comment here says, just say homeless. Carlin had it right. When it came to the evolution of soft language, just say it as it is. He died before anyone showed up. So next up, Pierre Poilievre gave a powerful speech, which is on my second channel if you want to check that out. I'll link it up at the end. But he's asked a handful of questions, including the situation with Trump. And let's check out his answers here.
The question was, should oil and gas and other energy be part of our response to the Americans? The reality is putting Canadian tariffs on American energy wouldn't do very much because they buy a hell of a lot more oil and gas from us than we do from them. In fact, our entire trade surplus with the Americans is the result of oil and gas. When President Trump complains about America's trade deficit with Canada, the concern he's raising really is that Canada is selling oil and gas at a massive price discount to American refineries and LNG plants that are able to massively profit at our expense. It is a ripoff. We're ripping ourselves off with this approach. Because of fanatical and stupid environmental extremists in the Liberal government and throughout the country, we are forced to sell almost all of our energy exports to the Americans. So the answer to that is to stop being stupid and start building LNG plants, pipelines, refineries, upgraders, and other energy infrastructures so that we can sell our energy to the world without going through the Americans. That would allow us the independence and the sovereignty that we need to support our economy free from these threats. But I would remind our American friends that they benefit from our affordable, reliable energy, and the alternative is Venezuela, Iran, and other foreign dictatorships. Why would we not want to have a North American energy market that enriches us both?
You never get an answer like that from Justin Trudeau. I've been thinking this myself. Why do we send all of our crude oil down to America? They refine it and then sell it, and they're getting a major discount. Why don't we just process it here and we can sell it anywhere? To me, this has been common sense for a long time. It didn't make a lot of sense until you realize two words, Justin Trudeau. Or you could throw in Stephen Guilbeault. Either or, they're interchangeable. These guys have been hamstringing our entire country, and now they've put in this cap on our oil and gas industry, just further hurting us. These are the guys who promised to plant 2 billion trees as part of a campaign promise, and yet how many trees have they planted? Probably 0. They aren't for the environment. They never were. This has all been a money-making scheme for the Liberals.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre, Taria Isri, Global News. You spoke of the need to speak to our American allies to make the case against tariffs. So who have you spoken to directly since Trump's threat? And will you be reaching out to American lawmakers and business groups even before becoming prime minister to do what you say and put Canada first?
We need to put Canada first by locking arms with American economic allies on the ground that will put pressure on Washington to do the right thing. Look, I'm not prime minister. I respectfully ask the Canadian people to give me the chance to serve them in that role. But that's why we need an axe the tax election now. I need the mandate. The mandate to put our country first, to make the case to the Americans, to bring home production and paychecks to this country, to take back control and end the NDP Liberal chaos. The only way to get that is with an axe the tax election, and that's what I'm calling for Justin Trudeau to launch today.
For the first time in our living memory, a U.S. president is directly threatening our country. We have an election that's only weeks away, likely. Can you walk us through why you think axe the tax is still the ballot box question for this election and not something else?
Yes, because I think that it's ironic we have an American president who's threatening tariffs on Canada, and we have a Canadian government that is threatening even more devastating tariffs on Canada in the form of a carbon tax that will rise to 61 cents a litre. You know, the only person that would like the Canadian carbon tax to go to 61 cents a litre more than the NDP Liberals is President Trump, because he'll be on the phone with our trucking companies, our factories, our mines. He'll be saying, pick up your billions of dollars and move 50 kilometers south, create the jobs for Americans, and leave the carbon tax behind. In the words of Ross Perot, there'll be a large sucking sound of Canadian business jobs and money pouring out of our country as America has no carbon tax and their other taxes will be dropping while we're imposing this devastating economic vandalism on our businesses and workers. The only way to bring home paychecks and production is through massive tax cuts on work, savings, investment, making stuff in Canada, and energy. We need cheap, reliable energy to feed our businesses and bring home production for our people.
It's so well said. It's not just one approach of just axing the tax. It's, as you mentioned before, getting rid of all the government overspending, stupid programs, sending our money to all over the place. Like just today, they announced $440 million being sent over to Ukraine. Like enough's enough, guys. The Liberals have been sending our money and spending our money in their own interests, in the interests of other people in other countries and other places. They've been putting Canada last since day one. It just took a while for Canadians to see this because our country was in a stable position under Stephen Harper's leadership.
Mr. Poilievre, Elon Musk seems to be a fan of yours. He tweeted a 100% emoji recently in response to a tweet that says, Pierre Poilievre is extremely impressive. He should be Canada's next leader. The sooner, the better. I'm wondering what you think of this, and do you accept his endorsement?
This is a good question. The other one about axe tax was a weak question. This is a great question, though.
Well, first of all, my 3-year-old has just told me that he wants to go to Mars. So I guess Mr. Musk would be the right guy to put him in touch with. The fact is that it'd be nice if we could convince Mr. Musk to open some of his factories here in Canada, create some jobs, high-paying jobs for our people. I think Tesla, his company, is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, automotive company in the world. Wouldn't it be nice if we were producing more without corporate welfare, without corporate subsidies, like the Liberals favor? We had more.
A perfect example is Lion Electric. This is a company that Trudeau invested our money in and now has gone bankrupt. So I've got it here. It says December 18th, 2024, they're now doing financial restructuring, aka bankruptcy. Trudeau announced a $50 million loan to Lion Electric in March of 2021. Just another story of wasted money from Trudeau.
That production here in Canada, I think that would be fantastic. So if I ever get a chance, Canada is like the Liberals favor, we had more of that production here in Canada, I think that would be fantastic. So if I ever get a chance to meet Mr. Musk, what I would say is, how do we make this an economy where we bring home hundreds of billions of dollars of investment to Canada so that our people get the paychecks? And why is it that after 9 years of NDP Liberals, it's Americans that are getting all the paychecks and all the growth? What is it that NDP Liberals have done wrong to drive these hundreds of billions of dollars out of our country? That is the question that all Canadians should be asking. And when I'm Prime Minister, there's going to be massive. This is the message that I have for the Americans, by the way. The days of us just handing over our businesses and our jobs because of our economic vandalism by this big, fat, money-hungry government in Ottawa are over. We're going to have a fierce, free market economy that competes with every country on earth. We're going to bring it home.
Finally, a Prime Minister that's going to stand up for us for once. Who knows? Maybe Elon spends some money over here. He is Canadian after all. There we have it. Only Justin Trudeau would take an opportunity to talk about himself, shed tears about his own situation. I'm convinced those tears were not for the families that were connected to all the people that lost their lives that day. I don't think he can handle the idea of not being Prime Minister anymore. I mean, you got to think, he's been doing this for almost 10 years. It's a habit, a routine, it's a lifestyle. He's used to this lifestyle. Something you and I don't think about is if he wants to go anywhere, he just makes a call, he goes, jumps in his plane, and he flies to the other side of the world. He can go meet with one world leader for an hour or two, and then say it's a foreign affairs thing. Bring his kids, go have a vacation in Thailand. This is how he's been living for 10 years. So this is all going to get stripped away from him here pretty soon.